What's up, everyone? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and I'm back with another video. Now we're transitioning from the AFC conference into the NFC, and today we're going to start with the NFC West, a very fun and interesting division I want to kind of talk about. But before we get into the video, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like and comment, man. I really appreciate it. It does help the channel grow as we're looking to kind of get to that 500 subscribers here. So we need your help. I need your help, and we really appreciate it. So, but first things first, man, let's just get straight into the video. And like I said before, we're going to be talking about the NFC West. And the first team I want to break down is the reigning division champs, the reigning NFC conference champions, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this team, obviously, we know was in the Super Bowl. They've been in the Super Bowl the last couple of years and have fallen short, right? So for them, winning a Super Bowl, I think their window is closing. And let's talk directly about that really quick. So what I mean by their window is closing, I still think this is a very good team, probably the best team still in the NFC, but I feel like other teams are gaining ground on them right now. They just recently re-signed Brandon Ayuk, and Trent Williams got an extension. So now the money that's going to be going to those players kind of complicate things in the fact that they have to win now, right? Trent Williams was definitely the biggest signing that they needed to get done, honestly. Without him, Brock Purdy would have been left out there vulnerable. And to me, this offensive line is not that great as it is, but adding Trent Williams bringing him back really does help bolster that offensive line tremendously, because if he's one of the greatest left tackles or tackles that we've had out there in the league in quite some time. And making sure that he's good, he's going to be ready to roll. That's going to help Brock Purdy progress as he goes along. Now, Brandon Ayuk, I feel like that signing, he kind of forced their hand at the end of the day, especially with Ricky Pearsall getting shot. Prayers to him. Hopefully he recovers. Obviously, this all happened kind of around the same time, but Brandon Ayuk was banking on the fact that Ricky Pearsall wasn't going to be that great, right? And they need him. And I think they do need Brandon Ayuk. Now, is he a number one wide receiver? I don't think so, really. I think he blends well with what the 49ers want to do. And so they had to pay him because they're like, well, we've had this window for a couple of years now, and Brock Purdy is going to be due for a contract here soon. So we might as well try to win what we can win right now, especially a Super Bowl, before we have to pay Brock Purdy, because guess what? They're going to have to pay Brock Purdy regardless of that, right? So, you still got George Kittle. You still got Debo, who is a little bit older now, older in the tooth. Defense is still going to be fine. But overall, this team's window is win now. They have to win now because financially, they're not going to be able to keep certain players moving forward, especially if you sign Brock Purdy. But again, 49er fans, don't be crying in the comment section. I'm not saying your team is lesser or they're not good anymore. This is a very good team, a very tremendous team, one of the best teams, if not in the NFC. But the gap is closing. There are a lot of teams that we're going to be talking about here, and while I break down the NFC conference, that are kind of gaining ground on them, whether you choose to believe it or not. I know the 49er faithful are very supportive of their club, which rightfully so, but this team definitely has a window and it's closing soon, especially now you got money involved and you're going to have to pay your quarterback here shortly. So we'll have to wait and see with the San Francisco 49ers, but nonetheless, still a great team, one of the best teams in this conference. And I look forward to seeing what they're going to do in this upcoming season. Okay. All right. Another team I want to talk about, a team maybe we've kind of forgotten about, right? They really didn't have a great year last year, a lot of injuries, and they're fresh off a Super Bowl recently in the last 4 or 5 years, right? And that's the LA Rams. Now, one thing I love about the Rams is the head coach and the quarterback relationship between Sean McVay and their quarterback there, Matthew Stafford. Now, Matthew Stafford is a little older now, obviously, but he can still sling it. And they still have formidable weapons outside with Puka Nacua, who emerged as a strong rookie last year. And then you also have Cooper Kupp. Now, Kyron Williams is there in the backfield, and I really like him back there as well. But the biggest question mark for them is the defensive line, right? Aaron Donald is gone, right? How did they replace him? Well, they went into the draft and they went and got 2 guys, right? We think that are going to be studs for them. So we, as a Rams fan, not me personally, but if you're a Rams fan, there is some optimistic in this team, right? Offensively, you still know that they're going to be able to push the ball down the field. The only thing where I feel like the Rams are kind of lacking is depth. If one of these key guys go down, right, especially your quarterback, who's backing him up? Jimmy Garoppolo or Stetson Bennett? I don't think so, right? I don't think they're going to get the job done. Puka Nacua is nursing, I believe, an ankle injury at this point. And Cooper Kupp, hasn't really played a really full season in quite some time. But when he is on the field, he's still one of the best wide receivers in the league. So you got to feel confident or optimistic about that. But I feel like Aaron Donald is going to be a huge gap to fill, right? You just don't replace um, a legendary defensive player like that, but hopefully they can scheme it up right and maybe just be in positions to win the games. But I really expect this team to make kind of like a bounce back, right? And emerge as another strong team. Listen, they almost went into Detroit last year in the playoffs and beat the Lions on the road. And the Lions eventually should have probably been in the Super Bowl if they didn't blow it down the stretch. So the Rams definitely can compete. And that was with injured players and being on the road. So we'll have to see what the Rams are going to do. But I do like that combination that they got with their head coach and the quarterback, which we've known in the past is something that needs to be accounted for when you're talking about your NFL teams. You got to have a good relationship with your quarterback and your coach because that's how they go, right? I mean, you look at all the great teams that we've had, especially the reigning champs right now with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They had a thing. Even Bill Belichick and Tom Brady back in the day. Now, I know there were some rough waters, but for whatever reason, they still were able to manage it, get through it, and propel themselves to multiple Super Bowls. So it's a thing. It definitely is a thing. And your quarterback needs to believe in the coach, and the coach definitely needs to believe in the quarterback. And we know for a fact that both of those two gentlemen, McVay and Stafford, are on board with one another. And we'll see where the Rams are going to go. But I really like what the Rams are doing. And they're kind of like leveling out. They're trying to get back on the even playing field. We all know what they did to win that Super Bowl. They basically paid everybody, right? And it worked out for them. And some of that stuff kind of affected them down in the long run. But like I said before, depth is going to be a concern for this team because they don't have a lot of depth, right? So if a lot of major key contributors go down, that might be a problem for the LA Rams. So there you have it there. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. This is an exciting team just because Kyler Murray is just a fun player to watch. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a Cardinals fan or anything like that, but I will throw on their games just to see what Kyler Murray is going to do. You know, he's just running around throwing. He's a little guy out there. He's just flinging that ball. And last year, let's to be honest, like they had a pretty rough offseason in the fact people were clowning them about their jerseys, some of the decisions that they were making. Their head coach, he coming over from Philly, he was like a weird looking kind of guy, whatever the case may be. But this team for the first couple of weeks of the season, you know, they really pushed some teams to the limit. They beat the Cowboys, I believe, in week 2, I think it was, or week 3, I forgot what it was. You know, with Joshua Dobbs, mind you, Kyler Murray was still on healing up from his leg injury. And then, you know, they were in games. So they weren't getting just the doors blown off of them. They were in games. And then now Kyler Murray is back. They've added some weaponry out there. You went ahead and got Marvin Harrison Jr., who I believe is going to be one of the best wide receivers day one coming into the NFL. You know, they've been bolstering up their offensive line. Is it great? It's better than what it was before, right? James Conner is a very stable running back there for him, for Kyler Murray in that offense. So, you know, they really are not, I'm saying upcoming team, but they're definitely a team that you're going to be on a lookout for. They can beat you. They're a formidable team. And I think their defense is going to get stronger with their head coach being a defensive minded guy. But the Arizona Cardinals for me definitely is going to be a fun, exciting team. Not ready to kind of quite make that jump as being a top contender, especially within the division, but a team that if you see them on your calendar, you can't just automatically assume, especially if you play them in Arizona, right? I've been to a couple of Arizona Cardinal games, tremendous stadium. The fans there are very respectful, but it gets really loud and they get going in that place, right? So, you know, it's not a team that you're going to, oh, it's a doormat. It's not like if you see the Giants or somebody like that, like, oh, you circle that as a win. It's a team when healthy, just like anybody else, especially if Kyler Murray's healthy, that will compete against you and they will have the tools and the weaponry to do that. And I forgot to mention Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends that we have right now in the game from a receiving standpoint. So they have some talent there. The coaching seems to be okay. And we'll just have to see kind of where everything lands with them in the NFC West. So now finally the team that's kind of like an enigma, right? Is the Seattle Seahawks. Not sure what to really think about them. New head coach, new offensive coordinator. I don't know. Like the defense is a defensive coach, McDonald, right, coming over from the Baltimore Ravens. So you know their defense is going to be good for the most part, or at least be stable, right? Offensively, new coordinator from the Washington Huskies coming on from the college game into the pro game. From what I've seen, the coordinator, I believe his name is Gibbs. I forgot his name, but forgive me wrong. Drop the name in the comment if you know it. But he spreads it out. Not saying they're going to be running like a complete air raid out there or just let it all out. They're going to run the football. They have some pretty decent backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. But you still got DK Metcalf. You still got Njigba, whatever. I hopefully I said that right. And then Tyler Lockett still there. So you have 3 solid wide receivers to throw the ball and move the ball around with. But we don't know quite yet what their identity is. And Geno Smith is going into his final year of his contract. And we'll have to wait and see. Like, because obviously, the Seahawks are in the market for a quarterback, right? There was talks last year about them drafting a quarterback early with their first pick. I believe they went defense last year. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with them and how Geno Smith's going to play, right? I mean, like I said, he's been the guy there for the last couple of years since Russell Wilson has moved on. But is he the future? And I think when they brought him in to be the starting quarterback, he wasn't necessarily going to always be the future quarterback. They just didn't have the means to go up and get a quarterback or somebody to trade for or free agency or whatever the case may be. But Geno Smith, the clock is on. He's on the clock. And we'll see if he can maybe play himself into another extension, or will the Seahawks move on? Now, again, this is another formidable team, right? I don't expect them to really make much of a jump either way, whether up or down. I think they're just going to be whatever, like wins and losses. I think they're probably within the 7 to 8, maybe 9, just depends on the quarterback play and how the offense is able to get going under that. But I think it's still a good team. It's the roster is not, it's balanced for the most part. But the Seahawks are definitely one of those teams that I kind of have a question mark around, because I don't know what type of culture the coach is bringing in there. Obviously, he's a defensive minded coach, and obviously the offensive coordinator he's the complete opposite. So as far as scheme wise, right? Defensive coaches, a lot of times they want to run the football, they take the air out of the ball, but you've hired an offensive coordinator that likes to put air under the ball. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with them. But I feel like this is overall, the roster is not bad. There are some key pieces there that they can use. But quarterback play, obviously, that's going to be the biggest thing, right? They probably have, as far as wins and losses, probably the quarterback with the least amount of experience in wins and losses and championship pedigree, right? Brock Purdy has been to a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray has won a lot of games as a starting quarterback. Obviously, Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl. Geno Smith is kind of like, he's a good quarterback, not great. He's a guy that maybe can bridge you till you find your next great quarterback. So we'll have to wait and see with the Seattle Seahawks. So there you have it. So, all right. Breaking down the predictions for this particular division, I think the Niners still are the kings of this division, right? With that said, the gap is closing. This division, you've seen wilder things. You sometimes see the Cardinals go and beat the Rams, or the Rams beat the Niners, or vice versa. The Niners beat the Rams. Like, they have their number, especially in LA. So, but I think the Niners, the Niner faithful can still breathe a sigh of relief. They will still finish number 1 in this particular division. I got the Rams coming at number 2. Very formidable team. Again, depth is where I feel like is a concern for me there. But they have some really explosive talent on the offensive side of things. And Sean McVay, that offense is going to be rolling either way. Arizona Cardinals, I think, still kind of on that trend up. Maybe they make a surprise, but I think they're still around that 3rd ranking here in this division. Kyler Murray's got to stay healthy, right? For sure. We got to see what Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be able to do. Can James Conner stay healthy too as well, running the ball back there for the Arizona Cardinals? So we'll see. And then the Seattle Seahawks, I just don't think Geno Smith is going to be good enough. I really don't think. I think, he had really won that one good year with Dave Canales, who is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. And, Dave Canales did wonders for Geno Smith, and he also did wonders for Baker Mayfield. But now he's long gone, and you kind of see the production kind of drop a little bit. So I have Seattle finishing dead last in this particular division. So, all right. So there you have it. Those are the predictions for the NFC West. A very fun, jovial division to watch, but the Niners are still the kings of this particular division. So, all right. So be on the lookout for my next video. I'm going to be talking about the NFC North, so you don't want to miss out. Again, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, if you want to get all of the updates, and the season's coming up soon. Starts Thursday, then Sunday morning will be my first NFL Sunday wake up morning show. So you guys don't want to miss out on that. So until then, that's all I got. This is your boy Clutch Sports Talk. Like I always say, Never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.